Greetings from the boogie down South Bronx. This is author Jeff Cortez. I'm going to be reading from my novel, Quirky novel, Memoirs of Pastor Rajatabla, Pentecostal Private Eye. Details about the format and the intention of the book are in the description portion that you will find, as well as where you may purchase a paperback or Kindle version of it. All right, so basically, it's a pastor in a small urban storefront Pentecostal church. He's clinically trained and often gets outreaches of concern by nearby congregations asking him to investigate and resolve issues that concern them, whether based in reality or gossip, right? And a little tip to understand the quick format, it's the main character is Raja, the pastor, and his journal is Tabla. His nickname is Tabla. So when he goes and investigates a situation, he writes in his journal, and you'll see it in italics form, the font, Dear Tabla. All right. So chapter 3, it's Canta Petros. Canta Petros. So let me turn to that page. And scripture is, "You are altogether beautiful, my darling, and there is no blemish in you." That's from Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 7. Okay, so let's go on and read it. It's a very small chapter. Rafaela was a devoted music lover and rumored to be a notorious nymphomaniac who had married a much-loved, humble man in the church community. There was much suspicion, garbed in churchy gossip, that the Jezebel philanderer had wooed modest Petros with an ulterior motives to have access to his enormous savings. The less flattering reason was restlessly based on the scandal-mongering question of why would such a beautiful woman, known only to pursue handsome men, marry a quite homely man. After sharing these concerns with Tesoro, she agreed that it would be better that she, instead of Raja, approach Rafaela regarding these unflattering bochinche gossips. Okay, so Tesoro is Pastor Raja's wife, who's a very supportive wife and also has some clinically trained background. Right, so Dear Tabla, my better half Tesoro came back from investing in a overpriced Starbucks breakfast date with Rafaela. Tesoro came back with a funny yet touching report. There were many churches that would not allow males and females to sit next to each other in their sanctuary unless they were married. Pews were separated by gender, usually with a walk-through aisle straight in the middle as a chasm. Yes, when visiting churches, Rafaela would avoid the ones with such pew arrangements, or she would sit at the end of the aisle where she could scope out the male herd. Rafaela was tired of years of church hopping, man hunting, and sampling church beefcakes, only to have relationships end miserably. One night she walked into a small storefront church she had never been in before. She vowed to God that she would make that small church her permanent church fellowship, outlive her seductress label, and would marry the man who would sit on the empty wooden flip-up seat next to her that very night. As soon as she made that pact with God, the ugliest man she ever saw sat right next to her. With a faint, trembling voice, she told the Lord that she would still keep her promise. The man turned out to be a guest gospel singer with the most beautiful voice Rafaela ever heard. Rafaela and Pedro's married. Some nights while in bed, she would wake up, look at Pedro's, and feel horrified at how homely by worldly standards he was. Then she would briefly turn over and say to her precious spouse, "Canta, Pedros, canta," meaning sing, Pedros, sing. Then, just like the psalmist David, harp would relieve King Saul of his vicious mood. Rafaela's own ungrateful perception would be divinely readjusted. Canta, Pedros, canta.